Welcome to the live stream. If you got a question about the federal hiring process, USAJobs.gov, or anything concerning government jobs, drop it in the chat. First, I'm going to look at previously submitted questions, and then I'm going to jump into the chat. So the first question that we have is from Dwight. Dwight Hamilton asks, does having 3 years of service in the accepted service allow reinstatement re-eligibility? Right? So no, it does not. You need to be in the competitive service. Once you're in the competitive service for 3 years, then you have tenure. Then you can be reinstated, meaning you can leave the government, work a private sector job, don't work any job, and then you can come back in and compete for those competitive service jobs. Now, also, let's say you do 1 or 2 years competitive service. If you leave the government, you have 3 years where you can have reinstatement eligibility. If you don't take advantage of it within those 3 years, then you lose it. So the best thing to do is just to do the full 3 years, right? So accepted service and competitive service, those are the two main services when you're looking at federal government job. There's another one called senior executive service, but the two main ones, accepted and competitive. You should know what you're applying for. So when you go on USAJobs.gov, if you're looking at one of those job announcements, I'm going to go ahead and bring it up right now. If you're looking at one of those job announcements like this one, you scroll down and you see service right here underneath work schedule and right above promotion potential. It tells you the service. When you're accepting your tentative job offer, you need to make sure that it says that. When you're accepting the final job offer, make sure it still says competitive. Because when you're using non-competitive hiring authorities, I'm talking about Schedule A, I'm talking about disability, when you're using that, then you're going to be put on the accepted service. There's nothing you can do about it. For the first 24 months, if you're using a Schedule A letter, you're going to be in the accepted service. Now, after that, it can convert to competitive service. There are entire agencies that are in the accepted service. Look at the post office, the FBI, the CIA. Their entire workforce is made up of accepted service, and you can stay there and flourish and have a wonderful career and reach the top, the pinnacle, and get a high salary without any issues. But I speak with people every week, and they're frustrated because they're trying to leave their accepted service job, and they realize there's only so many jobs that they can apply to, because some jobs are only for people that are in the competitive service, and they can't apply. So they're stuck with either looking at accepted service jobs or they look at open to the public jobs. So it's something that you should consider when you're doing your job search. Next question is from Myra Garcia. Is vaccination still a requirement for a federal job? No. It became a requirement in September of 2021. There was an order issued by the president, and all federal employees were supposed to get vaccinated. Not all of them did, but they were supposed to get vaccinated, right? It ended last year, May 2023, where they officially said the pandemic was at its end. When they concluded that whole thing, then there was no longer a mandate. So if you were to enter the federal government right now for the majority of positions, you would not be required to have vaccination. Okay, so the next question. Adam says, I'm about to finish my master's degree, and I would like to work for the government over corporate America. Do you have any new graduate specific advice when it comes to the job search? Also, I have an internship experience in my field. Okay, so as you probably know, let's go ahead and bring it up. Go on USAJobs, go to hiring paths, and you're going to find recent student hiring path. You're going to find students. You're currently a student, I believe. So you would look here, there's over 200 jobs. If you just graduated within the last 2 years, or if you're a veteran within the last 6 years, there's 170 jobs. So you can look through there, keep in mind what your major is, and I would definitely leverage that internship experience and any other type of experience, even if it's minimum wage. If you worked at the restaurant or the Burger King or whatever you have on campus or near campus, put that experience down as well. You want to add experience, not just your education. Then with your education, list the projects that you were involved in. If there's some high profile projects for your class, you want to go ahead and mention that as well. So I would do that. I would keep these filters in mind. And not only that, look at hiring events for students. Check this out. This one's in DC. It's coming next month, September 24th. This is an expo for students, interns, and recent graduates. All right, this is at the Partnership of Public Service in Washington, D.C. So if you're able to go ahead and take some time out, come to this area. I know for some people it's impossible. It costs too much for the plane ticket. But if you live around here, if it's within driving distance, I would encourage you to participate, to an event like this. This could be very beneficial. You can meet individuals here that have relationships with hiring managers. You could actually meet hiring managers. You can form those networks, those connections. You can start to become a known quantity when it comes to applying to some of these recent student graduates, some of these student internship opportunities. So I would definitely do that. All right, let's go to the chat. And here we go. We have JM. First question here. Good morning, JM. When it comes to taking an overseas job, can you explain return rights? Does every Department of Defense career employee have them? How can you determine if you have them? So, all right, first thing is you're going to have to ask HR. But when you're talking about return rights, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about, not that, this. Okay. So this regulation right here, if you look at it, page 17, you zoom in there a little bit. This is for DOD. It says the employee shall be placed in a position which he held immediately before his assignment outside of the United States. So in an ideal world, typically what you're looking at is when you left the United States and you went to Germany or you went to Italy or Japan, you spend 3 years there. And then you would go back to your exact position if it exists. If it doesn't exist, look at number 2. If it does not exist, the employee shall be placed on a vacant existing position. That means that could be in another state. A lot of times people think they have return rights. They think they're coming back home to Ohio. They're not going to Ohio. They end up in North Dakota or they end up somewhere else. And they didn't like that. So consider that. Other agencies, VA had something similar to that. Other agencies will just put you on a PPP, a priority placement list. So you need to touch bases with HR and see exactly what you will be entitled to, what you can expect after you're completed with your overseas assignment. So hopefully that was somewhat helpful. What else we got? Alex, hi, Armand. How much working experience is needed for a GS-9, 11, or 12? I'm a veteran with 30% with an associate's degree applying for admin or business. How much working experience? The book answer is 12 months of specialized experience for the vast majority, like 90% plus of the federal government jobs on USAJobs.gov. You're looking at 12 months of specialized experience. So more experience? Yes, that's probably better, especially if it's relevant. However, if you have a person who has 3 years of experience and it's worded in a way that doesn't demonstrate the true depth of their knowledge, and then here you are with 1 year, the 1 year of high quality experience could potentially beat out the 3 years simply because of how you're framing it. Or maybe you actually had a deeper, more rich experience with those 12 months than the other person had. So focus on the 12 months makes you eligible. Then it's what type of experience. Right, so I would say in a situation like you, GS9 to me, that's entry level because you can get it with no experience. If you can get a job with no experience, to me that's entry level. And GS9 with a master's degree, you can get it with no experience, right? Technically, GS11, GS12. Now, when we're looking at GS grades, where are you at? Because if you're in DC, I'm going to tell you something different than if you're in San Antonio. Or if you're in San Francisco, I'm going to tell you something different than if you're in Indiana. So GS grades inflate as you get into higher cost areas. So a GS11 in DC that's basically entry level for a lot of positions. I mean, you're not going to have that much responsibility when it comes to working as a GS11 position compared to if you're in a rural area. 30% vet, man, that's going to help you out. I would look at those veteran coordinators on Fed Hire Vets. Look at that website. Look at some of those coordinators. Reach out to them. When you attend hiring events, being a veteran, certain coordinators are open up to you. So you can use that type of relationship in order to try to get a job that might not even be listed on USAJobs.gov. So the most important thing for you, I believe, is just to have a strong resume and develop the habit. You need to have a focus as well. Looks like you're looking at 0300 and 1100. That's your focus right now. So you have a focus, get the strong resume, and keep applying. Okay. Next question, Sunscreen Extreme. Good morning. Is it better to write that you led a team to accomplish something or that you accomplished it? And then there's an example. It depends on what you're applying for. Are you applying for a leadership role? Are you applying to be a supervisor? If you are, I would highlight your leadership experience. If you're not, I would highlight your technical experience. Even if you were the leader, if you are the leader, you're checking on your employees, on whoever it is. You're checking on your team. You're checking on their work. Maybe you have to make some adjustments. Focus on the time that you had to make those adjustments. That technical experience on your resume, if you're applying for a position that's non-supervisory, I think that looks better, generally speaking. All right, good morning. Next question, Jaron Ford. When does the salary negotiation start? Tentative job offer, final job offer. It starts tentative job offer. The tentative job offer comes in, you say, yes, I accept, I want it. Immediately after accepting it, that is when you're communicating with HR about your intent to negotiate your step level. This should be done with a memo. You should send a memo, and you're doing it as a superiorly qualified candidate. You're not doing it on your past pay, because that's going away. You can't do that after October. What you could do is say, hey, listen, I'm a superiorly qualified candidate. These are the reasons why. This is what I was able to achieve. I received a monetary award. I received a time off award. I received this certificate. I was able to actually teach the subject matter for this position. This position's budget analyst, and I taught budget formulation, and I did it here, there, and the other. And I received awards for it. So you're painting yourself as a picture of a superiorly qualified candidate. And based on that, you're requesting step 7, step 8, whatever step it is that you're requesting, okay? Good morning, Tyler. Good morning, KK. Good, Steve SEO. Armand, why is it very important to display my past salary information on my resume? So, I don't know. It is important. I don't know about very. For most jobs, it's not a deal breaker if you don't put it on there. I would encourage you to put it on there because it's listed on the resume builder on USAJobs.gov. There's a spot for it. Other people are putting it on there. In the spirit of full transparency, I think it's good to have. People are worried. I don't know about you, Steve, but a lot of people are worried that if I put my salary up here, it's so much lower than what I'm applying for. Aren't they going to see this? Aren't they going to disqualify me? No, they're not. I was in a situation where I was earning significantly less than the position I was applying for. The position I was applying for probably paid $25,000 more than I had a history of making. And they still gave me the position, right? HR is looking at your experience. Are you eligible? This GS14, GS15, whatever it is, are you eligible for it? Your experience says you're eligible for it. The salary has nothing to do with that. The salary doesn't have anything to do with that. Okay, so they're not going to look at that and say, oh no, we can't give him a GS13. This guy's only making $70K a year. They're not going to do that. So don't be worried about that. Just be transparent. Put it on there. I would encourage you to. I mean, in a lot of cases, you don't have to put it on there. Okay. Next question. And good morning. I have a few questions. I purchased one of your federal resumes last year and used it to apply for an 1805 at the IRS. Was this appropriate? So the resumes that I have that are examples are 0300, which is admin, 0500, which is finance, 1100, which is business, and 2210, which is IT. So I don't have any that are 1800. You can take the format that I have and you can use it. Go to the OPM Job Series Handbook, pull out some of those keywords, use it, and then structure it around your experience in efforts to create a compelling resume. You can definitely do that. Okay. Next question, Art. Good morning, Art. Can you explain the difference between a roster and a register? Hey, those things are synonyms on USAJobs.gov. That basically means that's a resume bank. They're collecting them, right? So they're open for 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, 12 months. There's just a large time span where they're open, and they're just collecting people's job applications. And this is because they intend to fill positions. Every month, typically, they're looking, they're assessing, they're giving interviews, and they're filling it. It reduces a lot of work, because instead of putting up, let's say, 100 job announcements, they only do one. And then everyone who's eligible, they maintain that list, and they share it sometimes. That's what shared certification is all about. So it's in everyone's best interest when you see roster, or if you see 12-month register or something like that, apply to those positions, because you're going to be assessed consistently throughout that time horizon, and you could get an interview. And then a lot of agencies, they're looking at, okay, we have people retiring later this year. We got so many people retiring. So we don't need people now, but maybe in a couple, 2, 3, 4 months from now, we're definitely going to need people. So let's open up a roster or a register position so we can get some of those resumes. All right. Next question, Darthius007. Good morning. I've applied to 10 federal jobs, been referred to 9. That's great. 90% rate. That's wonderful. But I have not heard back in 3 to 4 months. Is this normal for the federal hiring process? Okay, so this tells me that in 4 months you apply 10 times, which if that's what you want to do, that's good. You were referred 9 times. Your resume is pretty good. After HR refers you, that means you made the best qualified list. You're now in front of a hiring manager. Your application, at least. I don't know how many pages your resume or your job application is. The hiring manager has to make an active decision that, hey, I want to interview Darthius. So what could stop that from occurring? Well, there could be someone else in mind, right? That's always a possibility. Someone else is in mind. Or it could be the first page, the first 2 pages, it wasn't compelling enough. It had information there to refer you, but that information, it wasn't enough to make the hiring manager say, man, we have to interview Darthius. We're interviewing 6 people. Darthius has to be one of them. It wasn't enough to get that hiring manager to actually make that decision. Another thing is that, were they roster positions? I was just talking about roster positions. If they were register or roster positions that are open for a long time horizon, then it could just be a matter of time before someone actually realizes, hey, we got a high qualified person here. Maybe we should interview him on the next round, on the next batch of interviews that we're doing for these positions. So that could be it as well. All right. Morning, Alex. All right, next one. Oh, here we go. God's favor. Good morning. Do you think there will be an increase with remote jobs in the near future? I noticed the drastic decline once COVID restrictions were lifted. Yes, I think that in the future, that remote jobs is going to become more prevalent, not just in the public sector, also the private sector. I just think this is more where the workforce in general is heading. This is where the desire, the demand. Now, right now, if you look at the private sector, when you have the skills, then you can get remote work. So the higher, the more desirable your skill set, I mean, the companies are going to give you remote work, because that's the trade-off. It's no longer like, hey, I want a big bonus. A lot of times it's, hey, I want the freedom. I want to be able to work from home. I don't want to have to come into a cubicle every single day in a week. So that's the kind of the trade-off. Like, you want my talent, yeah, you can have it, but I need some freedom in return. But I think that as the years pass, especially as a decade or longer pass, you're going to see more and more remote work, I believe. So you're correct, though. There was one day in particular, I saw 700 open remote work jobs in a day. And now, the norm is often 200. Last week, there was a day there was over 300 open remote work jobs. So it is a lot fewer. Definitely has been reduced by over half, but hopefully so. I think so. Okay, next question. And Marie, I'm considering applying for a 0300 series at another agency. Is it best to get the other template that you offer? What's the difference? So with the different, you're talking about the example resumes that I have. You can access that, the link in the description below. So the main differences between all the federal resumes is I tailor it for the OPM Job Series Handbook. So the OPM Job Series Handbook, it has all the information that you need. So you don't even really need the federal resume example unless you don't want to do that work yourself. You can go to the OPM. You know what? Let's just go there right now, real quick. I'm sure someone hasn't seen it. I've shown it a lot, but I'm sure there's somebody who hasn't seen it yet. So we're going to go here to Google, and all we're going to hit is Job Series Handbook. Make sure you put OPM in front of it. Otherwise, I don't know what you'll get. 2018, that's the year. That's the last year they put out a decent handbook, in my opinion. You click this link right here, zoom up. You see this table of contents? The government has over 300 jobs, different job series, and they're broken up just like this in the first page. We're talking about administrative. We're going to 0300. When we go to 0300, you can choose which one you'd like. I'm going to choose 0343. And when we go to 0343, we're going to click it again. We're going to zoom up so you guys can see, and we're going to scroll down. And this is what I'm talking about right here. These words: analyzing, evaluating, developing, advising. These words. So the federal resume examples, they're using the language here, identifying. They're using this language, and it's giving you a strong, solid example on how to use it organically with your pre-existing experience. Excuse me. Now, if you want to do this yourself, you come over here to page 4 and you look at it, identifying data. When have you done that? You did that at your last job. I know you did that. When did you do that? Developing new program policies. Maybe you didn't do that, but did you assist? If you did, give yourself credit for that. Reviewing, evaluating proposed changes in operating procedures. So that's the information right there. Okay. Let's go back to it. So however you want to do it, make sure you're using that language. Using that language, when you're applying for a 0300, I would say 70, 80% of the jobs, you're going to be covered for. There are certain jobs that are going to mention things like budget, some offices, they don't know how to categorize a position, or they'll categorize something that's 0300. Really, it's not. It's more IT leaning. It's more finance leaning. So you might have to deal with some things like that. But for the most part, I think that's a good start. Okay, next one. Nana. Good morning. What federal career path for jobs can I get into with years of experience in the commercial real estate property management industry and a communication health degree? There are some real estate. You know what you can look at? I would probably look at, let's look at it together. I would probably look at the 1100 to start off with. Let's see what we can find for the 1100. 1100 is business, but sometimes you'll have realty in there. Let me get rid of the filters I have right now. I got recent student graduate in there. Okay. So scroll down here on USAJobs. Look at the 1100. And what do we have? We have business. Right here, realty. So you can look at 1170. There's not that many jobs in there. You got lease management. You'll have some, land control, realty officer, specialist. You got 33 jobs there. You could look at there. You could look at some of the other 1100 series because that's considered business experience. And then outside of that, I would go ahead and look at 0300. It depends on where you're at and what opportunities are available. The higher volume of opportunities, that could be that's something to consider, right? So all your experience, let's say I'm business, I'm real estate, 1100, that's speaking to me. A lot of these job announcements, they're tailor-made for me. Go ahead, have an 1100 resume, apply to the 1100s. But that doesn't mean, let's say you live in Tampa, Florida, that doesn't mean go ahead and neglect the 0300. Because maybe you have more opportunity, maybe you have higher paying opportunities as a 0340. You could do 0340, right? Program management. And then apply every day, twice to the 1100, once to the 0300. That could be a strategy for you. So something to consider. All right, let's see. What else we have? I think you got a question, Alex. Thanks for the help. I sent regular resumes. Can I send a federal resume after submitting? So it looks like you sent the wrong resume to the job application or to the job announcement. you can, as long as the job announcement is open, you can go back there and edit your application. If you are submitting a new resume, that's probably going to show up as a duplicate. You're going to see, HR is going to see 2 resumes for that same application. That can be confusing. Make sure you're titling your resume, your name. What are you, Alex Bigoton? Put Alex Bigoton, federal resume, and then put the date. So if you're changing it today, put 8/25/2024. So just make sure it's easy to read. Some people really like it when you name the file appropriately. It makes people's lives easier. Oh, hold on, we got a super chat. Now we just got $5 donation. Okay. Yep, right here. Let's show you, Alex. Can I ask? Hey, thank you for the $5. Can I ask for more money if I speak Spanish? I'm trying to get asylum or immigration officer in Houston. Thanks for the help, Ramon. You cannot ask for more money unless there's already an incentive built into that job announcement. So the answer would be no on that. You can find jobs that are looking for bilingual people that speak Spanish. And if that's what you want to do, I don't know how committed, like, Alex, to you, is asylum or immigration officer, is that all or nothing? That's the only thing that you want to do? Because if you're in Houston, Texas right now, there's a whole bunch of opportunities that you might be eligible for. If you want to leverage your Spanish speaking skill, then go ahead and go to Houston. You're in Houston, but go ahead and type in Houston in USAJobs.gov, and then type in Spanish under keywords, and then you're probably going to find some positions. Let's see, how many we got? We only got 4. Okay, let's get rid of Houston then. Bye-bye, Houston. If you look at Spanish, you see on the job announcement title, this is for the CDC. They have bilingual Spanish. Same thing here. This is for the IRS, bilingual Spanish. This is a 12-month roster, bilingual Spanish. So you can look through here. Are there any of these remote? There's 3 of them that are actually remote. And it doesn't say it on the job announcement, so you're going to have to go inside. And this one right here says preferred but not required proficiency in Spanish. So that's how you would try to leverage your Spanish speaking ability. But as far as negotiating more money on the sole fact that you speak Spanish, if the announcement is not already structured to incentivize that, then that's not going to be possible. When you get the position, though, you can try to do a salary negotiation, but it wouldn't be based on Spanish. It would just be you being a superiorly qualified candidate. All right. Got another super chat. We got a $2. $2 from Drew. Thank you, Drew. Good morning. In the background phase with the DCMA, you helped a lot. Great. I'm glad I was able to help you. I missed a few. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to touch on a couple of these, and then we're going to go back into the previously submitted questions. JJ, how do I actually transition from a 0301 to a 0343? Okay, so let's say you're a 0301 for the last 10 years in the federal government, and now you want to apply for a 0343. What you should do is take the last decade of experience and start using some more of the keywords from the 0343. So instead of saying you reviewed all this paperwork, you didn't do that. You analyzed it. Instead of you saying you pulled out data and made a decision, you didn't do that. You evaluated the data. So what I'm saying is you have the experience. Just because you were in one job series, it doesn't mean that's all you can ever do. You have the experience that is applicable for the 0343 because you have analyzed, evaluated, identified, assessed, and advised. You've done all those verbs. Maybe they're not in your resume. So you need to change it so that it's in your resume. Same thing with 0343, that's finance and budget. They're like, how can I be eligible for a 0560? You're already eligible. You can be a budget analyst. I've helped somebody go from 0343, that's all they've ever done, and now they're at 0560. Same experience. It was on their resume. I was at 0343. Nobody cares. People care about the experience. People care that you analyze budgets. Did you do that? Can you show me that you did that? Okay, you can. Now we can adjudicate that you're eligible. That's the main thing. No special paperwork. Nothing special needs to be done. Just make sure your resume is speaking towards that job series. Okay? All right. A couple more of these, and I have to go back to the previously submitted questions. Good morning, Ricardo. When negotiating a higher step after a temporary tentative job offer, is there been an opportunity for a conversation about it with HR, or is it all in writing? It's in your best interest if it's all in writing. You don't want things just to be said. You want it in writing. So when you're negotiating your tentative job offer, you want to construct that memo. You want to send that memo. That's gonna be a comprehensive, compelling case on why they should grant you a step increase. That's something that they can share. HR can give it to the hiring manager. They can give it to the budget office. Everybody can look at it. Everyone can make their own opinion off of it. But that's the best case. To just talk about it without having a paper trail, I don't think that's advantageous for anybody. So that's what I would recommend. I'm not saying that no one's ever done that before, but I would highly recommend going the paper route on that one. Okay, let's go back. Let's take it back. We are taking it back to the previously submitted questions. We have this one, Grace. Grace says, if I'm offered a tentative job offer, would I have to do another SF-86 based on the clearance level, or will they use the same SF-86 they did on me previously? So I don't know when they did that on you, but here's the deal. After accepting a tentative job offer, they're going to give you the paperwork. You fill out your eQuip, and you're going to have to do a background check. So most of the time, if the job requires a clearance, then it doesn't matter if you held a clearance. This is changing. I'll give you an example. Let's say you are applying to Department of Homeland Security. You have a clearance because you were in the military, or you have a clearance from DOD. They might want to re-adjudicate the entire process all over again. There's been more of an emphasis over the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years for people to start honoring for agencies to start honoring other agencies' security clearances. But there are cases where they have to redo the whole thing. If you're in a position where you're applying to multiple jobs, let's say you accepted a tentative job offer, they start the process. The job requires a secret clearance. They start to go ahead and do the investigation process. You keep applying, because that's what I recommend. You keep applying. You have another interview, you pass that, you get another tentative job offer. That job requires a clearance. Both of those clearances cannot be investigated simultaneously, 95% of the time. There are exceptions with the intelligence community. 95% of the time, those two clearances cannot be investigated simultaneously. The one that just came in, that's probably going to take priority. The other one is going to be paused. They're not going to be able to do it. In fact, they're going to know that there's another one in process. So that can create a headache. If you have already accepted a job with a clearance, I would probably focus on jobs that do not require clearances, jobs that are low risk, so that way you're able to get more job offers and you won't have things staggered up and waiting and people frustrated, right? So that's what I would say. Grace, another question, Grace. Another question from Grace. When new to the government, how long does a background check take? This is a really common question, and here's the answer. As short as 4 days, maybe even 3 days, 4 days, 3 days, all the way up to over a year. And I can show you something that can kind of help drive that home. You see this chart? If the job is low risk, you see where I'm highlighting it? It says low risk. If it's low risk, this is the NACI background check. This thing will probably get knocked out in 3 or 4 days. It doesn't require much. The higher you go on this list, moderate risk, high risk, even these 3 aren't bad because this is a non-sensitive position. So these 3 are not that bad. But when you start needing an SF-86, okay, now we're talking about secret, top secret, SCI, maybe polygraph, right? Talking about these, high risk, moderate risk, this is going to take months. This is 4 to 6 months on average. That's what I would say. 4 to 6 months, they could give you an intern. They can give you an intern clearance. You can start working earlier in some cases. Otherwise, you're just going to be waiting. So I hope that makes sense. Next question. What do we got here? We have Alex. Alex, thank you for your negotiation techniques. I was able to leverage a GS 12 step 5. Well, that's great, Alex. I'm glad that you were able to get that. My question is about NH and DB pay bands. For example, NH4 encompasses GS 14 and 15. Do you step over GS 15 threshold automatically with time? Yes. NH4 does encompass 14 to 15. The pay range is between GS 14 step 1, GS 15 step 10. Each pay raise that you get, it could be the equivalent of 2 to 3 steps. This is why you'll hear that NH pay bands rewards performance. Because if you're a performer, if you're being recognized as a performer, you can make some serious money. You can drastically increase the amount of money that you're making between those ranges, right? So just after a few pay raises, you could be on the GS 15 side, but nothing special has to happen for you to get to the GS 15 side. It's not like the GS pay band where you have to wait 12 months and then your supervisor has to approve it. No, this is something that's just going to happen, okay? All right, good question. And we had some resume questions earlier. If you're looking for how to structure a strong resume, if you want examples on how people were able to cross the finish line getting their job offers, if you haven't done so, go ahead and pick up your copy, Government Job Secrets. Government Job Secrets. Link in the description below. Paperback, quick read, audiobook, ebook. If you want to read it on the Kindle, that's going to put you above, well over, I would say, 70% of the people that are actually applying right now. A lot of information. I think it'd probably take you 2 hours, 2.5 hours, read through that entire thing. You can highlight areas that pertain to you. You apply some of that stuff, you're going to see a greater success level. So go ahead and grab that. If you have, I know a lot of people already grabbed it. If you've already read it, please leave a review. That would help me out a lot. Thank you so much for that. Let's look at the chat. Let's jump right back into the chat. And I missed quite a few. Let's see. All right, let's see what Blueface. I got called for a second interview with a GS14 position in Houston. Is this a good sign? What can I expect? This is a good sign. This is a good sign, but this doesn't mean you have it in the bag right now, but this is a good sign. So a lot of times when we're dealing with multiple interviews, here's the thing about federal government jobs. It's not like a one-size-fits-all. There are positions where you don't need an interview for. Not at all. And these are usually below GS11. You can just get them. Then you have positions that have the one interview. And this is probably more typical GS11, GS12. Then you have positions that have 2 interviews. So with this, the first one is usually a panel interview. Panel interviews are scored. There's a score sheet. Same deal. There's in the description below, you can download like the interview guide. There's a score sheet example. They assign points to each candidate. Everyone's asked the same exact questions. These questions are prepared in advance. After the panel, this is the second interview. Usually it's a one-on-one with the hiring manager. And the hiring manager wants to ask you, they want to ask you questions to see if you're a good fit. And they want to make sure that you're actually interested. Like, hey, here's the bad side about the job. Are you still interested? It can work like that a lot of times. Or you're short in this one area. We like you as a candidate, but you're short on project management. What do you think about that? Is that going to be a challenge for you in this position? Those type of questions will be asked in the second interview. And then sometimes there's even a third where there's like a meet and greet with the senior executive. And that's another time where they're trying to make sure you're a good fit. All of that can exist. The best thing to do is to realize when you went into the first interview, there's probably at least 1 or 2 things that you felt like you were a little bit weak on. Look at that because they probably felt the same way. So you want to address those areas. You want to still speak to the job announcement. You want to reaffirm that you're interested in the position. So I would prepare very similar to how you did when you did the first interview. But it is a good sign. It's a good sign. I hope you get it. All right. Here we go. Carl Smith. Hello, Armand. I was just hired as an operations research analyst. Congratulations on your new job. Thank you for all your videos. I received my final job offer, but I see NH. What's the difference between GS and NH? NH encompasses 2 GS grades. So I think it's a good thing that you're NH, right? And it's going to enable you to move up the ladder quicker, in my opinion. So you're going to be able to get paid more. As long as you're performing, you're going to get paid. So we were just talking about NH4. NH4 is GS14, GS15. NH3 is, I believe, GS12, GS13. So they do not have traditional steps. It's a pay range. So you're able to get those pay increases. You're going to move up, like I just explained earlier. Congratulations on your job. Chip, good morning. Thanks. Have a great day. What else do we have? Good morning. How long does it usually take? This is Max. Good morning. How long does it take to after you have been found eligible and referred? Okay, to hear something. A lot of times you're not going to hear something, and that's what discourages so many people, right? Because they want the loop to be closed, and oftentimes it's not closed. So if you're referred and the job has already closed, I would say roughly, probably 1 to 3 weeks, you'd like to hear something, right? A lot of people hear things, but people have gone months, and then all of a sudden there's an interview request, and you're like, what happened? You know what happened in those situations? Usually the person walked away from the job. They thought they had someone for the job. They don't have them. And now they're like, oh no, let's go back to the list and see who we can pull. And then they pulled you, and then they want to interview you, which is fine if you're still open for employment. But there is no set time. Keep applying. Keep in mind if it's a roster or if it's a 12-month register, you're not going to hear something back necessarily immediately. So you got to have patience with that. So just keep applying for the positions that you know you're qualified for, and don't hold your breath on any of them. Even after you get the interview, don't hold your breath. Just keep applying. All right. Let's see. Nana, again, I appreciate your response. Hey, you're welcome. When I'm talking about the example resumes and the interviews, all that stuff, just look at the description. Right now, the description should have a link. If it doesn't, after the live stream, I'll go ahead and update the description. But right now, there should be links in the description below. Okay, next question. Tavarius, what is an analyst? It is a person who analyzes information, management or program. What do? They can do all kinds of things. And we have over 400 federal agencies. When you're talking about who does the administrative work, who does the operational work, who does the collaboration, who does the coordination, who does the agreements, the data use agreements, the computer matching agreements, the interagency security agreements, all this paperwork that keeps the government running in compliance. The 0343s do that. The 0301s do that. That's what they do. They do that. They work with privacy. They work with OIG. They work with the Government Accountability Office. That's what they're doing. They're looking at documents. They're tracking it. They're using Excel spreadsheets. They're using Microsoft Access. They're using SharePoint. They're updating dashboards. That's what they're doing. They're doing the paperwork, the administrative function of the federal government. That's what they're doing. Like, I can't really explain that better unless, unless you got a couple of hours, we can talk about in-depth examples. Outside of that, know that they're doing administrative work. Okay. All right. What do we got? RJ. If I apply for federal jobs, will they somehow store or share my salary and job history with non-federal companies? No. Well, I don't understand that. If I apply, no, they're not going to share anything. If you're applying, what they will share, they'll share your application with your salary history on there if you provide it with other agencies, with other offices. But you said non-federal companies. I don't believe so. I don't think so. Maybe you're talking about right now, if you're a federal employee, I think you make over $100,000 a year. If you Google search a federal employee, you can find their salary because it's public information, because the taxpayers pay our salary, so it's public information. So yeah, your salary will be public information if you make over 6 figures. I don't know if that's changed. That could have changed. But a lot of federal employees, their salary is public information, right? Makes sense. Okay, let's see. Man, let me catch up to some of these. What do we got here? Hey, Armand, no question. I just got a GS9 final job offer. I want to say thank you. Your videos were a lot of help. Congratulations, Johanna. I appreciate that. What is this? Please pick question link to $5. I missed a $5 question. We're going to go back to it. Where is it? That's not it. Here we go. $5. Nope. Hey, I appreciate the $5. Natural Barbs. Thank you so much. I think we got another one from Alex. $5. I'm applying for everything. Admin, business positions, USCIS, DOE, FEMA, as long as they ladder. Okay, yeah, you want the promotion ladder. That's cool. Any tips for interview? Essayance. Oh, so you're a fellow engineer, I take it. Essayance. Any tips for the interview? I mean, it comes down to the preparation. If you're getting to the interview stage and you're not getting past that, it's all in the preparation. A lot of people, they don't prepare long enough, right? I don't know why, they don't prepare long enough. And this is how I would prepare. First thing, HR says, hey, you have an interview. I'm happy, right? But then I'm trying to figure out what job announcement. If I can't find the job announcement listed, I ask HR, can you share the job announcement, please? And they do. They'll give you the job announcement. Now you have that. First area, specialized experience. Start pulling the information out of there. Let's just go do a quick rundown, right? So job, I don't even know what job this is. I don't think it matters. Let's look up. What is this? No, we're not doing that. Okay, so let's just pull a job. USAJobs.gov. Let's say, I don't know, human resources. This job looks good. So I would go here. You see this qualification section? Specialized experience right here? It says applying fundamental human resource management law. Okay, so that's one. Boom. Human resource management law. I'd pull that word out. In fact, what I would do is I would take all of this and I would copy it, and then I would bring up a document and I would do it like that, and then I would make it bigger, and then I would pull this out. I say, okay, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. I would do that, and then I would say, all right, this one, I need a success story about a time that I reviewed policies and I found some inconsistencies and I updated it and it impacted a process, and that's my success story. I'm going to format a situation, task, action, result, and I'm going to create a strong success story for that. Next one, collect, research, analyzing complex information, right? Okay, when was the time I looked at Excel spreadsheet and I found something, and then something was missing, there was a gap, I filled it, I included a column, I included a row, I was able to impact it in a way, and then everybody was happy, I got praised, my boss said, great job. Where's another success story? Now, a lot of people say, I'm only going to do this to write my interview. No, I don't think so. I think you do this to prepare for your interview. Operating, researching, applying record management. There's 5 areas here. I want 2 success stories for every area. So that means 10, and I want you to write it out. Situation, task, action, result, or CAR. Context, action, result. Write out, fully flesh out, quantify, make it nice and juicy, a beautiful success story. And then I want you to write it because it helps your brain remember it. After you're done writing it up, mock interviews. That means you're practicing. You're getting your friends, your family, your acquaintance, anybody who can tolerate you, and you're bringing them and you're like, hey, ask me questions about human resource law, policies. Ask me questions about when I analyze information. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to practice pitching you my success stories. All right? And if it's over the phone, then have them call you. Say, hey, boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, uncle, call me up and ask me these 10 questions. Where are you getting the questions from? The job announcement. You're getting the questions from the job announcement. That's how you're preparing. That's one aspect of the interview preparation. The other thing is know the agency. Know the agency's mission, their vision. Understand the agency's pain point. Look at the agency, right? That's one thing. Ask thoughtful questions. Don't just make it about me. Hey, what is your office struggling with right now? What is one of your pain points right now? How do you describe the culture in your office right now? Make it about them. You're thinking about them, right? That's another way that you can do it. But people do not put forth the time necessary. They put like 30 minutes, maybe triple that, and you'll have better results doing that. How confident are you when you're telling your success stories? Are you confident? Are you giving them eye contact? What are your mannerisms like? Are you crossing over here? Are you looking around? Are you nervous? Are you turning red? Or are you in your element? Are you in the zone? Because you need to be in the zone for the best results. Now, people have stuttered their way through an interview and they have gotten the job offer. I've been in the room when that has happened. People have stuttered their way through there, so that's fine. I'm just telling you, every little thing can be used towards your advantage. That's what I'm saying. But thank you. Thank you for the $5. And let's get back to it. What do we got? Oh, we got Barth here recommending the book. Thank you, Barth. Thank you so much. I got the book last week. I totally recommend it. And I appreciate you for saying that. I'm glad that you did. And I know it will be helpful. Okay. What is this? Good morning. I got a waiver for a high-risk public trust. Huh. What does that mean? Is that a good sign? How long is the investigation? A public trust investigation is not as long as a security clearance one, so it shouldn't be that long. I don't know your exact background. Sometimes if you have, it could be credit, right? Finance, people with debt to income ratios, people that have, they owe money to the IRS and there's not a payment plan that's already been structured. That could be an issue. It could be some other stuff, but as long as they're moving forward with the hiring process, I think everything is good. You know, it's when it stops or when they have concerns. If they have concerns during a background check, they reach out to you. They have a discussion with you. Tony, what does this mean? Service competitive. Well, that means competitive service. Competitive service. Okay. We talked about this at the beginning of the stream. But if you look here, you run a search on USAJobs.gov, you go to hiring path, you will see competitive service. If you are not in, maybe I can make this bigger. Maybe that's too big. If you're not in the if you are in the competitive service, that means you're a federal government employee that is under competitive service. This is beneficial to you because you're able to apply to a lot more positions out there. But also when it comes to merit promotion, you are confined by time and grade rules. Okay, so you need to have 12 months time and grade before the next GS grade. But this just means that they are considering, you know, Veterans Preference, Schedule A, Native American, Land Bureau, all that stuff. They're considering all of that stuff. There's competitive rankings. There's rules that Congress mandated that they follow in order to determine who is best qualified, who's going to get the job. Accepted service is not like that. Accepted service, unless you have an interagency agreement, you don't have the benefit of being able to jump around to different agencies, especially not competitive service. And they had different rules for their hiring. So like, you know, the FBI, you go there, there's an academy requirement, right? You go to the CIA, there's an academy requirement. So with the non-competitive hiring authority, Schedule A, it doesn't work the same as competitive service. You're giving an advantage. Same thing with veterans. You're giving an advantage. So that's one way to look at it. All right, let's see. Gary, the hiring assessment after applying for a position, what's your opinion of it? You want my opinion? Well, I think it's very time consuming. So not every job has an assessment attached to it, even though there's a push to have more assessments on more jobs. There's over a dozen assessments, and typically they'll only ask you to fill out the ones that they're actually using. It could be one, it could be two, three, more. There's one position that I'm familiar with that had 5 assessments. If you're a leader, if you're applying for a supervisor, there'll be an additional supervisor assessment. It's important that you take these seriously and that you allocate the appropriate amount of time and you're caffeinated or energized to give your best performance, because once you're complete with that, you're not going to be able to redo it for 12 months. You're not going to know how well you scored, but they're going to use those results for every job that requires it. So let's say we need an analytical assessment on you or a mathematical assessment on you. Let's say I represent Department of Energy. So you applied to me, Department of Energy, using your mathematical assessment. Well, you also applied to Department of Justice, and they're using the same thing. So we're just going to that result is shared. And it's going to be 12 months. So if you did horrible on your assessment, it's going to be 12 months before you can retake it. Some of them are okay. I think they're kind of lengthy. There was a point where I was going to do like a study guide for assessments, and then I read there that it's like a crime to copy the questions and answers. It's like it's a crime to share it. So I'm like, well, I can't do that. So I completely abandoned that idea. But I know it's a pain. It adds more time. But here's another thing: a lot of people don't like it, Gary. I don't know anybody who loves it. So if you're applying for a job and there's an assessment, 20%, 30% of the people applying, they could be like, well, the heck to this. I don't want to do an assessment. So that could be an advantage in narrowing the applicant pool potentially. But yeah, I'm just looking at the bright side of it. All right. Let's see. Oh, wait, what is this? This was my $5 question. I don't see a question there. If you have a question, I'm looking at your name, although I cannot pronounce it. If I see your name associated with a question, I will highlight it. Let me double check one more time. Yeah, I don't see it. Okay. Let's see. Where are we at? Okay. All right, these are old. We did these. All right, here we go. Natural Barbs. Hey, thank you. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Love it. I got a tentative job offer. Hey, congratulations. Tentative job offer with the IRS. That's wonderful. IRS is in like full force hiring mode. They cannot get enough people. I'm employed by the SSA. Okay. But I got a sanctions violation. All right. I was given a warning. Would that cause my offer to be rescinded? No. No, it will not cause your offer to be rescinded. Be open, honest, transparent. If they have you fill out any background check, if they ask you for any violations, I would mention it. If they don't ask you, don't mention it. This is not. I don't think this is gonna impact it at all. But congratulations. Okay. Yeah, Teresa, that's a good point, Teresa. You should save all job announcements you apply for. It helps in preparing for the interview. Absolutely, you should. I know a lot of people aren't doing it. So don't feel afraid to ask HR. The person who emails you about coordinating the interview, don't feel afraid to ask them. And they should be able to also send it to you. But that's a good point. What we got? We got Jake. Jake's still sending out resumes to the GS13 for 2210, mostly security. I appreciate your tips and resume review for me. Great. Good. Keep at it. Keep on applying. Okay, good. Let's see. We have Chaston. Good morning. The skill set questions go from a general question, how skilled are you with your experience compiling reports, to very specific for the DOJ. I'm not qualified, but I am qualified, but not for DOJ. Yeah, okay. There's two ways to look at this. Sometimes they're trying to hire somebody that has previous DOJ experience. And when they're doing that, I don't know why they put it open to the public, because they really shouldn't put it open to the public, because they're looking for somebody who has federal government, unless they have experience with the DOJ, but they were from the acceptance service, or potentially they're a contractor. So they're trying to find people with that background. So I would probably answer that you don't have it. And I know if you're marking you don't have it on the assessments, you're pretty much disqualifying yourself. So that's why it's helpful to look at the questionnaire before you apply. A lot of times on the job announcement, if you scroll down, there's a link you can click. You can actually look at the assessment before you waste your time applying. Or you could just apply and hope for the best and mark down that, yes, you do have that, right? Even though it's not that specific. It's not that specific agency. Still, when it comes to the system, you do have experience, right? Okay. We have Nate. Hello, Armand. What type of health insurance? Man, I don't really want to answer health insurance questions. It comes down to the individual, right? Now, if you're a veteran, I would keep TRICARE. If you're a veteran, you can keep TRICARE. You don't have to give up TRICARE. Now, if you're not, for someone who is single and doesn't know what to pick, I don't want to give you insurance. You got to pick what's best for you, depending on any type of pre-existing conditions or whatever you might have, right? Okay, we got Scribble Stokes this morning. I got a call from the IRS after an interview, and they picked me. Well, congratulations for your selection. They said HR may take 3 to 4 months before I start working, and I might not hear anything else for a while. Is this normal? This is absolutely normal, Scribble Stokes. This is absolutely normal. It's usually 4 to 6 months is what I tell people. 4 to 6 months to get a federal government job. People can get it in under 3 months. I've seen people get it in 9, 10 weeks. But 3 to 4 months before you start working, I would say that's a fair assessment. But it looks good. Everything looks good. They picked you. So what's going to happen next is HR is going to send you a flood of paperwork. You're going to fill that out. And you're going to fill out some security information. You probably will have to do a credit check. So you're going to have to sign off saying it's okay to do a credit check on me. And then you're also going to have to do probably an eQuip. That's going to take a process. I don't know how long. I don't know what's in your background. If you have a relatively clean background, it shouldn't be a big deal. After the background check is complete, they'll let you know. And then they'll have a final job offer that will have like a tentative date of employment. It's called EOD. So you can negotiate that as well. So what's 4 months from now? We're in August, right? So let's say it's in December. Maybe you have plans this December. Maybe you have some holiday vacation travel you already have on the books. You can say, well, I don't want to start in December. I like to start in January. And they could probably move your date around. But congratulations on the job. All right. Oh, here we go. My $5 plus $2 question, third time. I got your question now. I see it. I worked as a STEM teacher, science, technology, engineering, and math teacher. Okay. Unemployment claim adjudicator and tax auditor for a state alcoholic beverage tobacco. What series or job should I apply to? My name is Jose. Jose, there's many that you could apply to. Let's pull it up. Here we go, Jose. What you want to do, first you said you were a teacher. The first thing I think about when someone says they're a teacher, I automatically think of 1700. You see 1700 right here? Let me see if I make it a little bit bigger. No, I probably can't. Okay, 1701, general education. 1702, education technician. 1712, training instruction. All three of those, look at that. Since you're a teacher, look at those three. Look at also, I wouldn't discount 1750 because you've put together some instructional stuff, right? So if you use Blackboard or some other type of online learning interface, that could be something that you could do as well. So if we're looking, this is worldwide right now, 16, 18, we're looking at probably about 600-700 jobs across the world when it comes to the federal government. Now, a lot of these could be in like different countries and they're very low paying, so maybe you don't want to do that. Okay, that's the first thing. What else did you say? You said tax auditor. So you can look at 0500. 0500 is finance and budget. You're probably going to be eligible for that. I don't know your education. If you do not have a CPA, if you don't want to worry about having a degree, then I would look at 0560 as budget analyst. You can look at 0501. A lot of these do not have a degree. Auditing usually has an educational component. Accounting has an educational component. So I would probably start at 0501, 0560, and then if you have the right education, look at 0511. And what else did you do? You were also auditor, claim adjudicator. So because you were a claim adjudicator, I know that you know how to analyze data. So I would also look at 0343. So I gave you 3, 6, 7. I gave you about 7 or 8 different job series. Look at them. And I don't know the true depth of your experience. I would have to look at your resume, but I would definitely start there. And make sure you have your filters for your hiring path. Otherwise, you're going to be wasting a lot of time. Thank you so much, though. Excuse me. All right, good. Dana. Hi, Dana. I recently started a job as a buyer at a community college. I want to add this to my federal resume. However, it will make it more than 5 pages. How do I add it? So, I mean, one way, the most obvious way is to look through your resume and find areas that are weaker than others, right? So you know you have your strong stuff up top. Your weaker stuff should be towards the bottom with each job position. So look towards the bottom. See what are you comfortable removing, if anything, remove it. Since this is a new job, I don't know when you started it. Let's say you started it last month. That's not that much experience. So I wouldn't be in a rush to add it. Because what HR is looking for is 12 months of specialized experience. So if you only have 1 month there, I probably would wait until you have at least 6 months in the job before I feel like compelled to input it in there. Maybe once you have between 4 to 6 months on the job, then I would add it. I wouldn't add it right now unless you're in a situation where you have a huge work gap and that bothers you. For some reason, it bothers you that you have a work gap, so you want to put your position in there. Outside of that, you could look at. I looked at your resume before, Dan. I can't recall it off the top of my head, but towards the bottom, you mentioned some job training. You could look at some of that. Maybe some of it isn't as relevant as others, so you can look for areas that you can trim up in there to try to squeeze it. That's what I would say about that. All right. I missed that one. Okay. Murma, is bad credit, will it disqualify you from any federal job? Not necessarily. What they care more about your credit rather than, it's not about your score necessarily. They want to see the outstanding debt that you have, and they want you to have a plan to pay it back, and preferably a history of paying back on a payment plan. That's what they want to see. They don't want you in a situation where you have so much debt, now you have an incentive to betray the government. That's basically what it comes down to. So, okay. All right, we have another super chat. After this, we're going to go back to previous submitted questions. Jarvis Hughes, thank you for the $5. No degree. Okay, no problem. I've been a 3PL operations supervisor for the last 5 years. What job series should I consider? Operations. You do not need a degree for the 0300 series, and that without knowing more about you, I would go straight to the 0300 series. Let's go there. So operations, if you type in operations to USAJobs, well, I misspelled that. If you type in operations, you're going to come up with a whole bunch of stuff, right? But what you're going to come up with largely is going to be in the 0300 series. You see, pretty much most government jobs deal with some sort of operations. But if we go to 0300, let's say 0340 would be pretty good for you. Even 0343 could be good. Administrative officer could be good. 0341. You want to look in the 0300 series. You have some positions here like operations research analyst. I would look deeper in those job announcements to see if you're actually eligible for those. But program analyst, you're going to be fine for. Management analyst, you're going to be fine. Like, look at this. Management program analyst operations. This is a military. They're probably talking about G3, S3 type positions there. But you're gonna have the experience. I'm pretty sure. I haven't looked at your resume, but I'm pretty sure that you're going to have the experience to be competitive for those. Now, like I mentioned, there's no college degree requirement, so you don't have to worry about that. And if you did something more on the logistical side, like more of the warehouse side, I'd probably look at 0346. That's logistics. You can look at there as well. GS level, do not conflate the GS grade level with the college education. You, with the relevant experience, if you have strong relevant experience for the job announcement, I mean, you can get, the sky's the limit. You know, 0300, you can go to GS15, no education. There's people I know that GS14, they have no degrees. None. No college at all. And they're GS14s because of their experience. So I wouldn't limit yourself. Look at what you're making right now. Let's say you're making $100K a year. That's what you need to maintain your lifestyle. What does that equate to in your location? Maybe you're in Philadelphia. Is that a GS12? I would start there. Look at the job announcements. Do you have the relevant experience? That reaffirms that that's the right GS grade that you should be looking at. If you need more information like that, I'd book a call. You can book a call with me, link in the description below. We can talk about it. I can look at your resume. We can come up with a plan. All right. Tavarius, do I make sure my resume aligns with the duties of the job or the qualifications? For the qualifications, go to qualifications, specialized experience. That's what I would do. Hey, let's look at it because I kind of want to give a little bit more context on that. I don't want to go to that job. This is a GS15. Okay. Your resume, this is the first thing that it should be talking about. Let me take a step back. Your resume should be built on the OPM Job Series Handbook, the language that's there. That's used to classify jobs. That's going to give you a strong base resume. You're doing that to minimize the changes that you have to make. Okay, that's step one. Done. This is step two. Specialized experience is step two. If you're applying for this job, you better be talking about budgeting. Otherwise, you have no business applying for this job. So you're talking about budget analysis. You're talking about the PPBE. If you don't know what that is, that's what the DoD uses for expenditures. Okay, so this is what you're making your resume focus towards, right? So you did the OPM Job Series Handbook. You did the specialized experience. For most people, that is enough. You don't have to go any further. Now, for my high achievers that want to do even more, you can go to duties, and it's going to give you an idea of what the position does. This person performs complex analysis. So yeah, that's something that you might want to talk about. But if you were doing the qualification section, it says right here, budget analysis. So you should have budget analysis in there. If you want to go above and beyond, you can look through here and you could even add more to it. But to me, I don't think it's necessary unless you want to do it. I would stick with the qualification section. I would stick with specialized experience. All right. Hey, I need to go back to I don't know what we're doing here. All right, let's go back. We're taking it back. We have the Great Escape asking a question. I was able to get referrals that turned into interviews, that turned into job offers. That's great. I'm still in negotiation with relevant private service credit for leave. Here's the thing that people don't talk about. You can negotiate your leave. You can do it. They're telling me that it's going to take me 3 months to approve the leave negotiation. They already approved the step request. That's great. So you got your step increase. I got my tentative job offer the first week of May, and it seems like this will be pushed out until November. Is it worth the wait? All right, congratulations on the step increase. That means you're getting more money. If you're trying to get your leave rate up, your leave accrual rate, here's the deal. The first 3 years of government service, you're entitled to 4 hours per pay period. Every 2 weeks, you get 4 hours of leave. After you pass 3 years in the government, you start getting 6 hours per pay period. So from year 3 to year 15, you're doing 6. After year 15, when you hit 15 years, you start accruing 8 hours per pay period. That's the max. 8 hours per pay period. So every month, you're getting 16 hours. Here's the deal with that. That doesn't include sick leave. Everybody gets 4 hours in addition to that for sick leave. So if you add it to sick leave, you get a lot more leave than that. How much leave are you currently earning in the private sector? Is it 8 hours? If it's 8 hours, it's going to take you 15 years to get to that point. If you're only earning 6 hours, well, then you're going to get that in 3 years. So how important is it to you? Is it worth the wait? Are you earning right now? Do you need money right now? That's the biggest question. If you need money right now, then you just go ahead and accept it. You start working, immediately. If you're willing to wait, if you got a job, if you got a source of income, and those 8 hours are important to you, then you can wait until November. It's really a personal decision. If it were me, I would just start immediately, right? That's what I would do. Because you have the sick leave, and then you have the federal holidays. There's a lot of time off that you can look forward to in most federal jobs. That's what I would say. Next question, Linda Zach. When an applicant is hired as a Schedule A employee after the 2-year probation time, is there a risk to get fired, even though they had good performance? After probation, do those 2 years count towards 5 years to be vested employee? So there's always a risk of termination in any job. It's harder to get terminated in the federal government. For the probationary period, it's easy because you're an at-will employee. For any reason, they can say, hey, it's not working out, get out of here. And you're like, okay. They escort you to the front door, and that's the end of it. That doesn't happen. Most of the time, it doesn't happen. Like 90% of people are able to pass probation, no issue, unless you do something, unless you're doing something like, you're not showing up, you're showing up to work drunk, you're assaulting people. More often than not, you're going to be able to get through your probationary period. After your probationary period, the time that you were on probation, all that counts as federal service. So let's say you do 2 years probation. So after that, you do 3 more years, and then you're vested. You got 5 years to be fully vested in a pension. So yeah, the time counts. The time definitely counts. You also have union representation. Most people, not everybody. Most federal employees have union representation protection after probation. So yeah, let's take it back to the chat. See if I missed anything. And I missed a whole bunch. Oh, Dana, this is a follow up on your question. Yes, I've had a huge gap. My last job. Okay, for you, I would add it then. I would add it because you had a 6-month gap. The book answer, the technical answer is the gap doesn't matter, but I would probably still add it to give you peace of mind. Where am I at? Okay. All right. Head told Kale, can a federal job ask for a complete social security number in job application? I came across such recently. Yes, they can. And as long as you're doing it through USAJobs.gov, I wouldn't be apprehensive of giving it. I would go ahead and put it in. But they can. Trey Day, retired Army First Sergeant. Having bad luck landing a federal job. A lot of people on Reddit assume it's my resume. With the format, should I use bullets to show action, result, impact, or paragraph format? Trey Day, I'm also a retired Army First Sergeant, and I can tell you it's absolutely it's probably 100% your resume. The resume is what's stopping you because you have veterans preference, you have VRA, you have VEOA, you probably have 30% or above military disability preference points plus 10 on the majority of applications. I don't know where, it could be your location. If you're living out there in, let's say, southern Indiana, or, if you're in one of these remote locations, yeah, I can understand why it could be difficult. But if you're in a city that has over 100,000 people, it probably shouldn't be that difficult for you. Your resume question, what I would tell you, Trey Day, is to download a resume example in the description below. That's going to give you your answer. You're going to look at it. You're going to have a visual. And you're going to see exactly what your resume should look like. But if you don't want to do that, bullets, I would use a combination of bullets. What did you ask me specifically? Bullets to show action or paragraph. I would do a combination. You could do paragraph. I think what's important for me anyway is readability. So a mixture of paragraph and bullets, if it's done the right way, it can increase readability. But more important than that, I would tell you right off the bat, what is in your first page? Is it structured towards a job series? Is it showing what you did? What did you do? How did you do it? What was the result? Can it be quantified? Are those 4 things mentioned in every achievement that you have listed? Is it relevant? That's what I would say. Okay. Next question, Tanvir. Can you please talk about how can I obtain a secret clearance for a government IT job? Yes. Apply to a government job that has a clearance requirement and they will do it for you. The burden is on the government to do it. As long as you have the skills, they will do it. So if you're an IT professional, hey, I know how to do Java, I know how to do C Sharp, I know the programming languages, I have cybersecurity, great. If you're a nice, compelling candidate, they're going to want you. And if there's a clearance requirement, that's just something the government has to get done. That's not something you do to get done. It's not for you to do. You just show that you're a good candidate, and they do it. Okay. Great. What else? God's favor. Thanks again, Armand. It's been a pleasure to be present in your live streams. Have a wonderful week. Thank you for being here. And I know you've been a long-time supporter of the channel, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. What else? Moving through these. Yeah, what do we got? We got also, will referral help? Can I connect with federal employees on LinkedIn? You can, and this is what I was talking to just last night. I was talking to somebody. Use LinkedIn. Here, let's bring up LinkedIn. Oh, can you see this? I don't think you guys can see this. Let's see it. Okay. So here we go. We got LinkedIn up here. Go to search. Go to see all. Or hit that. Hit enter. When you're going through here, go to people. You got people here. Go to all filters. Go down here. Current company. What do you guys want to look at? Department of what? Department of, let's say, energy. Department of Energy. Energy. Here we go. So now we got Department of Energy. Now, what about you? Where have you worked? Were you in the Army? Because you can click Army. Put your last company here. Or, where did you go to school at? Let's pick some place where you want to put. Let's go to Ohio. Let's say you're Ohio State University. Okay, let's show results. Everyone here right now works for the Department of Energy, and they also got their degree at Ohio State University. So reach out to these people, connect with them, message them if you can. Sometimes you have to be a premium member. Sometimes you have to connect first. But you can connect and you can send a note, right? You can, well, I just connected that guy. You can send a note or you can message them and you can say, hey, I also graduated from Ohio State University. how do you like working at the Department of Energy? And then maybe they respond, maybe they don't respond. I don't know. You have to message multiple people. How do you like working at the Department of Energy? Maybe they say, hey, it's pretty good. Nice to talk to a fellow Ohio State University graduate. And then you can say, I'm currently actually trying to get into that agency. My main issues with my resume, and I'm wondering, should I mention the volunteer experiences that I had at Ohio State? They can come back. Once you form somewhat of a back and forth dialogue and I would say the conversation is getting warm, then you can ask like, hey, would it be okay next weekend? I could call for 5 minutes. I would just like 5 or 10 minutes of your time just to ask a few questions about the Department of Energy. And they are more likely, there are people that will do that. There are thousands of people that will do it if you put forth the effort. So the main thing is to have some commonality with them and to find out what agency they work in and then reach out. Yeah, that's how you network. Yeah, definitely. JJ, is it possible to skip GS grades as a federal employee? For example, I'm a GS-12, can I apply for GS-14? So technically, yes, you could. It's counterintuitive, but yes. Let's say if you're a federal government employee, if you're a current employee, typically you're bounded by time and grade rules, meaning you need 12 months as a GS-12 before you can apply and be eligible for a GS-13. However, if you have experience outside of the federal government that would make you eligible for it, you're a GS-12. Let's say you worked for the government for 2 years, but 10 years ago, you were a deputy, you were executive at, I don't know, pick a company. You were an executive at IBM, let's say, or you were in the military. You have experience there that could be adjudicated at the GS-14 level. What you would do is you would apply to open to the public jobs, highlighting your experience that doesn't involve the government, does not involve the government. Do not attach your SF-50, and then you could be considered for it. If you attach your SF-50, you're going to confuse a lot of HR people because they're going to look at it and they're going to disqualify you. Like, oh, you don't have enough time and grade, but I'm not applying. I'm not applying as a government employee. I'm applying as an open to the public member. I'm applying as a U.S. citizen. I have nothing to do with the government. And you could. People have jump grades like that. Okay. Here we go. Jay Villa. Is it better to stay with a position at least a year before pivoting to another GS grade? In general, I would say yes. And that's largely because then you can apply for the next higher grade. But you don't have to. I helped a lady who had a job for 3 months at the Department of Agriculture, and she couldn't stand it. She hated it. So I helped her jump to a completely different federal agency. She wasn't there a year. Everything was fine. No problem. All right, let's see. Okay. Okay, Luna. I bought the book. Thank you for buying the book. But I didn't see this. I don't know what you're talking about. I think you're talking about the federal resume. So this is the book. And you have to go in the middle of it to find the federal resume. And it is an example. It's right here. It's on page 41. So it looks like this. This is, you see it, I use a fictitious name, Tracy. And you can see her position, the duties and responsibilities, and the achievements. And then if you go to the next page, the resume continues. So I would use something very similar to this. You don't have to use your own resume. You could take this format and how it is written, and you can make it apply to the resume builder. As you're inputting your experience in the resume builder, you can make it match a similar format to this. And what I'm talking about is the success stories, the achievement, the quantifying, the how did you do something, right? That's what I'm talking about. Oh, we got a new member. Let's Cannon, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Let's jump back to Grace really quick. Can we use sick days as PTO? Can we accumulate sick days to the following year? You can accumulate sick days to infinity. There's no cap. People have saved their sick days for decades. You can just stockpile them. Your PTO, that's use or lose. You can only hold a certain amount, and then after that, you have to use it. Not true with your sick days. You can keep over a year of sick days. if you want to. Can you use it at PTO? Listen, Grace, it's supposed to be used, sick days is supposed to be for a variety of reasons. Either you're sick, your family member's sick, you have a medical appointment, you have to take your family members on a medical appointment. There's a whole bunch of other reasons. Now, you can't, I don't think you can email your supervisor and say, hey, listen, I'm going to take some PTO, but I want to go ahead and mark it as sick leave. No, you don't do that. You just say, hey, listen, I'm requesting, tomorrow's Monday. Nobody wants to go to work tomorrow, right? I don't think so. So you would say, tomorrow I'm requesting sick leave. And then usually no one's going to ask you what for unless you have a certain type of boss. If you have a regular boss, they're not going to ask you, well, what for? I want the proof. I want the documentation. They're not going to ask you that. They're going to be like, okay, take your time. So that's how it's going to go. Hopefully. All right. Let me jump back to these before I miss them all. I'm not trying to go too much past 1:30. I'm trying to wrap this thing up in about 10 minutes or so. Hopefully I can do it. Let's see. Red October says, besides my MBA, I have customer service experience, 2 years of warehouse experience. Would it be reasonable for a new graduate like myself to look for entry jobs in the 1165 and the 0203? I don't know why you would be looking there. I'm thinking GS5 or GS7. I wouldn't think GS5. You have a master's degree and 2 years of experience. I would not look at GS5 unless that's the only thing in your town. I've seen the MBA series recommendations on USAJobs, but I don't feel like I'm qualified. No accounting, IT, or management. Okay, listen. 1165. That's a loan specialist. I don't know what you would be doing. I don't know why you would be focused if you don't have that much experience. 0200 is HR. 0203 is HR. Okay, what I would do, if you want to leverage your business education, look at 1102. That's contracting. It's kind of stressful, but they'll take you in at a GS7 level and they'll kind of work you up. You'll move up quickly. There'll be promotion ladders. You can look at 1102, look at 0346. That's logistics. You've been in a warehouse. You probably have logistic experience. Outside of that, 0301. Look at admin. Same thing. 0343 is probably fine for you as well. But I wouldn't look at the two that you're currently looking at. Okay. Then we got a question here, but from Elena. For a military spouse, do you have to provide a DD-214 and PCS orders in the application if it's not active duty? If it's not active duty, you're not going to have orders. The job application required it. Okay, so the job application wants somebody who is the spouse of an active duty military member. That's why. The friend who applied for this job is a spouse of a veteran. She only has a disability letter. Can you elaborate on the process, different scenarios? All right, real quick. We don't ever talk about this. Let's talk about it. Military spouse preference is a non-competitive hiring process. It's also very unique. If you look on USAJobs, go ahead, click USAJobs. Click search, go down the hiring path. You're going to see it right below veteran. You see it right here? Military spouses, 4,208 jobs. That's the path that you want to go into. With this, you can be eligible 3 different ways. First way, you're a spouse of an active duty military member. You need to provide your marriage certificate and a copy of their orders. This is like PCS orders. That's the way that you're eligible for this. Number 2, this fits your friend. Number 2 fits your friend. Number 2, you're a spouse of a 100% disabled veteran. You can only use this if your spouse is unable to get a federal job. Your spouse cannot have federal employment for you to use this, okay? And number 3 is that your spouse was killed on active duty. For this, you need a DD 1300. It's a whole different type of documentation. To use any of these, you cannot remarry. You have to stay married to your spouse. It's also at the discretion of the agency. Okay? The DD-214 is usually used to prove that your spouse is actually a veteran and that you can use the 100% disability. So yeah, you can do it that way. But the job that your friend is applying to, she's probably not eligible for that one. All right? You have to look for a different one. Or just read the job announcement. If it is, in fact, open to people, spouses from a 100% disabled veteran, then what I would do is I would just attach a blank or a Word document that says, I'm applying using 100% disability. I would save that document and attach it to the area where they're requesting for your PCS orders. Okay. Next question this is from Meskos. This is also a military spouse question. I have a tentative job offer. This was open to the public. I'm a military spouse and I'm a veteran. Do I have to wait a year or longer to get a new job with a higher grade if I'm qualified under the military spouse hiring path? Okay, this depends on the announcement. So timing grade is not applied to military spouses if you're using it on an announcement that's not open to the public. So if it's open to the public, then you're not going to have to worry about timing grade, right? Open to the public, do not worry about timing grade. If you're using your government experience to qualify you for a higher grade, that sounds more like a merit promotion. A merit promotion does involve time and grade. Okay? All right. Okay. Another question. Ladybug. I'm in the process of getting hired with the TSA. I'm at the fingerprinting and medical screening stage. My question is, once I get hired, how soon can I transfer to an IT job? Immediately. You don't have to wait to transfer. TSA, I'm guessing that you're in the accepted service, so that's going to impact it somewhat. But if you want an IT job, you can keep applying for an IT job. You have the experience. Look at open to the public, or if you're eligible for other hiring paths, look at that. Keep applying to the IT jobs. Once you start working at the TSA, whether it's 1 day, 1 year, it doesn't matter. Once you get an interview and you get the job offer, you can switch. You can just jump. Now, another question from Ladybug. Should I pay for a resume to be done? $500 for a federal job. I know it's a dumb question, but I already paid a resume company to write my resume. I don't know if you paid the $500 or you paid somebody else. I don't know what's going on with that, but here's the deal. I think everybody can do it. Everybody has it within themselves. As long as you have an example, you can write your own resume. I don't think you need to pay somebody to write your resume. I'm a strong believer that you don't have to do it. The only time I think that it would be okay is if you have plenty of money and you want to save your time, because it's probably going to take you 2 or 3 hours to knock it out. So if you want to save 2 or 3 hours of your life, then I would probably pay somebody. But I would be careful on who you're paying. A lot of people say they'll just do your resume, but they don't do it well. In the DC area, I know people personally that charge $1,000 or even more, $1,200, $1,300. Now, these people, they know how to write a resume. I know that because I know them. I don't think that's the right path for most people. So I'm not gonna shout them out. I'm not gonna give them any attention, even though we're friends. But I really believe that you can do it. And here's the first thing, all right? You don't want to spend any money, that's fine. I think most people gravitate towards not spending money, that's good. Ask somebody who's in the federal government to just share their resume. That's step one. If you're not happy with that. Step two, you can look at the resume from this book, or you can get one of the example resumes in the description below. And that's going to show you how to do it exactly. And if that's not good enough, if you have a resume already, and if you want somebody to edit it, I will edit your resume if you sign up to the course down below. Now, for most of you, you shouldn't sign up for the course because I think most of you have the time and the energy and you're able to do it. But if you don't want to worry about it, yeah, I do offer a service where I will edit it. And it's less than $500. So it's your money, so you're going to decide if you want to pay a company to do it or not. But I gave you my thoughts on it. Let's look at the chat. Man, we're past 1:30. We're past 90 minutes here. Let me just see if I can knock out a few of these quick. What is this? Okay. Barf, 11 years, Air Force HR, having security plus changing anything. I'm looking for HR, but also any other opportunity. So if you're applying to a federal government job on the civilian side for the Air Force, I think your HR experience might carry over. If it's in a different agency, let's say if it's in the, I don't know, Department of Justice or the Patent Trademark Office, if it's a different agency, a lot of times that HR experience is not going to be seen as relevant. It's not going to be seen as the same. Military versus regular federal agency. So I think if you're looking for a higher paying opportunity, I would look outside of the 0200 series. Security Plus, that's 2210. I don't know what depth of experience you have with 2210. Information security is the first thing that pops up in my head. Okay. Elena, we talked about this. Question, do you have to put your salary on your resume? Is it mandatory? The deal with that is a lot of times it's not mandatory, but it shows goodwill. It shows transparency. It's not going to work against you. You have no reason not to do it. I would recommend doing it. Also, how do you word in the resume that you had your own business? You put self-employed. So right where you would normally put the employer, you put self-employed. That's how you do it. And volunteer unpaid experience. Doesn't matter if it's unpaid, volunteer experience, all experience counts, all of it. Paid, unpaid, whatever, your experience counts. Put it in there. BW, how do I find how long my current probation period is? Job description saying maybe 1 to 2 years. Here, how you do that. Tentative job offer, see if it's there. Might not be there. Final job offer should be there. It should tell you. And then also you can look under your SF50. If you're already an employee, look under your SF50, block 24, I believe it is. It'll say conditional career appointment. If you're conditional career appointment, competitive service, you're probably under probation. Best thing to do, email your HR. I'm assuming you're already working there. If you're working there, email HR. If you're not working there, still email HR. The person who sent you the job offer, email them, ask them. All right. What is this? I've been a GS, this is Jay Bill. I've been a GS9 for 6 months, GS11 promotion potential. Would it be good to pivot to another GS9 position with a GS12? I would just wait till you get your GS11. You're going to get your GS11 in 3 months, as long as you've been doing everything right. 3 months, you get your GS11, and then after that, you can jump, you're a GS11, then you can wait 12 months and then look for a GS12. I mean, I wouldn't jump unless you're really unhappy there. Alvin, thank you for your service. Thank you, Alvin. Oh, we got a super chat. No, we just got a $5 donation from Harry. Harry, thank you. Appreciate it, Harry. We got Rogbin. You can get a GS9 with no experience if you have a master's. That's true. That's true. Yeah, good. Okay. All right. How did I qualify being eligible and did not get referred? War Dog. All right, War Dog, I'm going to tell you. Being eligible, that just means you're eligible. All right? So, let's say 1,000 people apply. Out of those 1,000 people, I don't know, 800 are eligible. The other 200, what were they applying for? They had no business. They still applied, wasting everyone's time. 800, they're eligible. Wonderful. What's the next thing we got to do? We got to cut that number again. Who is referred is who's best qualified. So let's break people up. We got 800 people. Maybe we got 200 people over here that are qualified. Well, that's not enough. Get rid of them. Now we got 200 other people that are highly qualified. Well, for this, that's not enough. Get out of here. The other 400 people, let's say, they are best qualified. Those 400 people get referred, not the others. Obviously, the not eligible people, they're not getting referred, but the qualified people aren't getting referred either because we're not just referring anybody, we're referring the best. So the qualified people, they're out. Highly qualified people, maybe we would have picked them on a certain day, not today, so they're out. So we're just focusing on the best qualified. That's why you didn't make the cut. That's why you didn't get referred. And even when you get referred, you have to cut it again because you can't interview 400 people, right? So you got to cut it again. That's why it's important to stand out. Your resume is that's your best advocate. That's who's sticking up for you behind the scenes. So that's why it's so important to have that resume dialed in. Okay. What do we got here? Yep. All right. Brian Wan says, big thanks to you. I finally landed a GS13, GS14 remote job. I'm glad you got it, Brian. Yeah, it's hard for a lot of people, and people have been thanking me recently for remote work jobs, and I think that's given off the wrong impression that it's easy to get. It's not easy to get, so good job getting that remote position, especially GS13, GS14. That's great. They offered me a step 10, okay, GS13 step 10. Can I get promoted to GS14 at any time, or is there a certain period? Hey, the deal is they hired you as a GS13. I know it's step 10, but it's still GS13. You wait 12 months. You gotta wait the 12 months, and then you'll be able to get the GS14. Now, the two-step promotion rule will come into effect, okay? If you don't know what that is, then I'll just explain it really quick. I probably shouldn't, but I will. All right, this is it right here. So you got hired as a GS13. This is DC, so it'll depend on your location. You were hired as a GS13 step 10. So if you were in DC, that means you're pulling $153K a year. Now, next in 12 months, you're going to go to GS14, but you don't have to start at the bottom. So the two-step promotion rule says you look for where the pay exceeds 153 for GS14. Where is that? That's right here, step 5. So then you add 2, 1, 2. So you will be moving from 153,000 a year, and then 12 months from now, then you'll be at GS14 step 7. You'll be earning 167,000. So that's going to represent roughly a $14,000 a year pay raise for you, which isn't that bad. So good job getting that one. And you're remote to boot, so wonderful. Okay. Harry. This is probably the last question. We'll see. Harry says, I keep getting referrals. Great, but no interviews. Any suggestions? I have about 12 referrals with a good resume and a PhD. Okay, Harry, I mean, there's so many things that take, I don't know the job series. I don't know the location of where you're applying to. I don't even know if a PhD is relevant, because if it's not going to do you any good. What's the most important thing is, how can you compel a hiring manager to want to interview you? How can you make a hiring manager want to interview you? The first page, prime real estate, that's what you have to communicate and convey yourself. You need to have your strongest achievement well worded in that first page. The hiring manager has to look at your job application, and they're going to look at least your first, maybe your second page. That's where you're going to have a compelling case on why they should interview you. Why? It's because you're highly qualified, because you meet the specialized experience to a T, because this job was tailor-made for you, and you're showing it with your experience. So the resume is still a barrier for you. That's what I would say. But 12 referrals, I mean, also keep applying. Keep applying every day if you can. All right. Once again, if you haven't got the book, pick up the book. If you have, please leave a review. I appreciate it. If you need to know what a strong resume looks like, the link's in the description. You can download a resume example, multiple job series that can help you, give you an example on what the correct way, what a competitive way looks like. And then you can structure it based off of that. Sign up to the free newsletter. If you haven't done that already, I push out every week virtual hiring events. You can do these anywhere. I don't care what state you're in. And if you want to, here, I'll show you an example on what that looks like. So there were a lot of hiring events last week. This is it right here. So if you don't know this already, starting tomorrow, the IRS has 2 events. They're trying to hire people there, right? You got Recruit Military for the veteran community. They got all kinds of agencies. This doesn't show up on USAJobs. This Recruit Military event, this is a 4-hour event with there's so many federal hiring agencies there. You got the Secret Service, the Peace Corps, the DEA, the IRS, the Space Force. Check that out. This is one of my favorite agencies right here. USPTO, Patent and Trademark Office. Yes, please. That's a great agency. 27th, they're hosting an event. You got the Forest Service, they're doing it. You got Career Echo hosting one. This isn't on USAJobs. So this is a different one. You got NOAA. We just talked about that agency. You got the SEC. You want to work at the SEC? There's a program for students, graduates. You can work at the SEC. They pay more than USAJobs. The SEC has their own pay band. You get over $200,000 a year in that agency. Check that out. So if you're not signed up for this thing, I don't know what you're doing. It's free. It's in the description. You click it, you sign up. I email you every week. It's simple as that. And then, yeah, we got all that. We got everything. And then, yeah, that's it, guys. hey, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate all the support. And I look forward to doing this next month. This is a monthly thing. I've been doing this for over a year. The last Sunday of the month for probably a year and a half now, I've been doing these live streams. So check out the newsletter. I also push that information out there as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for the support, spending some of your Sunday with me. And hopefully you don't have to go to work tomorrow, because I know that's kind of a drag. But yeah, thank you so much. See you in the next one.